Hello and welcome to this deep dive session on Amazon SageMaker. This video is part of the AWS Certified AI/ML Bootcamp series. This is part 2 of Amazon SageMaker deep dive. On behalf of the CloudExpert Solution team, I would like to thank you for joining us and exploring this video. If you are starting your SageMaker learning journey with this video, I encourage you to explore our other SageMaker modules for a complete understanding and to confidently tackle questions in the AWS Certified AI/ML Foundational Certification. In this video, we will cover SageMaker Studio, SageMaker Feature Store, SageMaker Clarify, and SageMaker Model Cards. We have a lot to cover. Let's dive in. SageMaker Studio is an integrated development environment or IDE for machine learning. It provides a unified interface for building, training, and deploying models, making it easier to manage your ML projects. To open or access SageMaker Studio, you should have a SageMaker domain. This is an one-time activity or prerequisite you must complete before opening or accessing SageMaker Studio. SageMaker Studio supports multiple IDE including Jupyter Lab, RStudio and all, and allow you to choose your preferred environment for the machine learning work. It offers tools for every phase of machine learning lifecycle, from data preparation, model tuning to model deployment. SageMaker Studio allows you to scale the underlying compute resources up or down as needed, ensuring you have the right amount of power for different stages of your machine learning project. In terms of use cases, we can use SageMaker Studio to explore and prepare data for your machine learning training. We can also train and tune your model with the SageMaker Studio environment. And last but not least, we can deploy and monitor your model directly from SageMaker Studio. Next, we'll go to AWS Management Console and we'll review Amazon SageMaker Studio first. I am into AWS Management Console and I am at Console Home. I'll type SageMaker from the service search option. Amazon SageMaker AI is the service that we have to select. Let's click on Amazon SageMaker AI. Here you go. We are at the Amazon SageMaker dashboard. From the left hand side, we can choose Studio, and this is the Amazon SageMaker Studio. Now let's see the domain first. You can go to admin configuration, and here I have the list of domains. This is the domain I was talking about, and this is the prerequisite that you should have to access the studio. If you do not have the domain, you can go and click on the create domain, and it's self-explanatory. It will take 1 to 2 minutes to create your first domain in Amazon SageMaker. I already have an existing domain. I am going to click on Studio, and from here I am going to select the user profile or domain from here, and I'll click Open Studio. Here you go. I am in Amazon SageMaker Studio. If you remember, we talked about different IDEs like Jupyter Lab, RStudio. Here are the IDEs what you can access. It also provides all the capabilities. You have all the running instances. Currently, I do not have any running instances. You can go and select the compute or the instances. Here you have the data from where you have access to data wrangler, feature store, EMR cluster. Also, there is auto ML. You have options for job, that is you can train the job, model evaluation, model performance evaluation. Also you have option to access or create pipelines, and then you have the jumpstart. We will cover all the modules in subsequent sessions. For the AWS Certified AI Fundamental Certification, you should know the available options. The certification curriculum does not require you to know how to create a job, how to train the model, or follow step-by-step processes. However, it's important to be familiar with the available features and how to access them through the SageMaker console. Next, we'll review Amazon SageMaker Feature Store. Before explaining the feature store, let's recap what is feature, and we'll take the example of predicting house prices. To do this, you need to consider various characteristics of the house which has a direct or indirect relationship with the house price. And these characteristics are called features. Like you have house size in terms of square foot, number of bedrooms, location of the house, and year of build. All these attributes are called feature. Features are input to the machine learning model, and these features provides the information that the machine learning model uses to make prediction. By analyzing these features, the model can learn patterns and relationships that help it estimate the house price accurately. Since we have understand what is feature, let's review SageMaker Feature Store. SageMaker Feature Store is a fully managed repository for storing, sharing, and managing machine learning features. In terms of feature management, we can ingest, process, and store features from various data sources, including streaming and batch data sources. Amazon SageMaker Feature Store provides time travel capability. That means it allows to access historical feature values to understand how features have changed over time. We can also reuse features. That means we can store and share features across different machine learning projects to promote reuse and reduce redundancy. SageMaker Feature Store provides both online and offline storage capability. If you have a real-time inferencing requirement, you can use the online store for low latency feature retrieval. If you have a batch processing requirement, you can use the offline store. You can also publish feature directly from SageMaker Data Wrangler to SageMaker Feature Store. Now let's review how we can create, store, and share features with Feature Store. First is your raw data. That means data in its original format that has not been processed. The next step is feature processing. That means you transform raw data into meaningful features for better model prediction. Then we have SageMaker Feature Store. Inside this, you can store, discover, and share features for machine learning use cases. Now, in terms of data ingestion, we have two options. Either we can use streaming or batch, and we can move streaming features or batch features to a central repository. Then in terms of storage, as we discussed, it provides two options: online storage feature and offline storage feature. Now, in terms of serving those features, if you have an use case for real-time inferencing or batch inferencing, you can use the online feature store. But if you want to use offline, then you can serve batch inferencing and model training. Next, we'll review SageMaker Clarify. SageMaker Clarify helps you to detect bias and explain predictions in your machine learning models. It provides tools for both bias detection and model explainability. Now let's review Feature Store in AWS Management Console. I am in SageMaker Studio, and here we have all those IDEs or application. Now to access Feature Store, you need to go to Data. Inside Data, you can see Data Wrangler, Feature Store, and EMR cluster. You can click on the Feature Store. Currently, I do not have any features or feature groups exist in my account. If you want to create, you can create feature group from here, or even from create feature group option here, and you can manage and maintain all your features. In terms of bias detection, you can identify potential bias during data preparation and model training. And it ensures that your model are fair and unbiased by detecting and mitigating any existing bias. In terms of model explainability, it helps you to understand how input features contribute to model predictions. And we have screens there. We are going to review those predictions and the bias detection. Clarify also provides insight into model behavior to build trust with stakeholder. SageMaker Clarify generates metrics and reports to support compliance requirement. You can use Clarify's report to meet regulatory requirement and demonstrate responsible AI practice. Now let's review SageMaker Clarify model evaluation feature. Using model evaluation, you can evaluate foundation models. If you see in this diagram, we have list of all foundation models available here. You can select two foundation models and you can compare both the foundation models. You have option to evaluate the models using curated algorithms or automatic way or with work team or using human intervention. You can use built-in dataset or you can also bring your own dataset to test the models. You have an option to use AWS managed team or you can use your own workforce to evaluate the models. SageMaker Clarify provides built-in metrics and algorithm for model evaluation. Let's go back to AWS Management Console and we'll review SageMaker Clarify in action. I am in SageMaker Studio. From left-hand side panel, if you expand the jobs, here you have inference optimization, training, model evaluation and performance evaluation. For model evaluation on SageMaker Clarify, I'll select model evaluation. Here I can create a job to evaluate model. Let's click on evaluate a model. The first part is you have to provide an evaluation name. Maybe I'll go with test evaluation. And description is optional. The next step is I have to select the evaluation type. If you remember, I have option to choose automatic, that is using inbuilt or curated algorithms, or I can go for human option. Now let's choose the automatic way and you need to add the models of evaluation. Here you have list of all the foundation models. You can select, maybe in every page I'll select 25. And these are all meta models that you can see. You can go to different pages. You can see the Hugging Faces, that is also there. And we can choose between one Hugging Face and also one meta model. And then we can save. It is giving me an error message. My account does not have enough EC2 instance to deploy for this model. And I can go ahead and request for a quota increase. I don't want to do that only for this demo, but let's review the other options. We can go and select the task type. Here you can see what is the task type. Do you want to do text summarization? Do you want to evaluate for question answering? Do you want for classification or open-ended generation? Let's assume that I want to do for text summarization. And what are the evaluation matrix you want to select? If you remember, it has all those pre-built matrix. Now here we have the evaluation dimension. Either we can go for accuracy, toxicity, semantic robustness. Let's assume that I want to go with toxicity. And this is the description. In terms of test dataset, you can choose between using a built-in dataset or bringing your own organization specific dataset for evaluation. If you opt to use your dataset with custom feature, you can upload the dataset in a S3 bucket and provide the S3 bucket location. You can add more than one dataset. For this demo, I will select the built-in dataset option. Here are the available built-in datasets and I will select government report as my dataset. You can add some more evaluation matrix. Since we have used the toxicity, maybe for this I am going to use the accuracy. And again, you can either use your own dataset or you can go with the built-in dataset. Like that way, you can add all those evaluation dimensions. And after that, the next step is set up your work team. And if you are going to select human, then you need to set up the work team. There either you can use your own team or the organization team, or you can take team from AWS Mechanical Turk. Then you can provide detailed instruction, you can review, and you can create the task to evaluate the models. Now let's review SageMaker Clarify to detect model bias. Before we dive deep into different type of bias, let's understand what is model bias. Model bias refer to systematic errors in a machine learning model that lead to inaccurate or unfair prediction. Bias can arise from various sources including data, the model itself, and even from the training process. Let's review the different types of bias one by one. To start with, selection bias. Selection bias occurs when the training data is not representative of the overall population. For example, if you are building a model to predict loan approvals but only use dataset from approved loans, the model may not learn the characteristic of rejected loans and it leads to selection bias in terms of prediction. Next, sampling bias. Sampling bias happens when certain groups are overrepresented or underrepresented in the training data. For instance, if a facial recognition model is trained primarily on images of people from one ethnic group, it may perform poorly on images of people from other ethnic group. Then measurement bias. Measurement bias occurs when there are errors in data collection process. For example, if a sensor used to collect data is faulty, the resulting data may be inaccurate, leading to biased model prediction. Next is confirmation bias. This happens when the model reinforces existing bias in the data. For example, if historical hiring data shows a preference of certain demographics, a hiring model trained on this data may perpetuate this bias. And last but not least, observation bias. This is also called supervisorship bias. Observation bias occurs when the person collecting or interpreting the result has bias for the result. That means the supervisor is only observing the success and ignoring the failure. For example, if a study only includes successful startup, it may overlook the factors that lead to the failure of the startups, and that dataset can lead to biased conclusion. Here is a sample question. Let's assume the question is, phone survey responses tends to have higher satisfaction score compared to the online form responses. And you have to select the correct bias types from all these options. You can pause the video here, take a moment and write down the answer in a paper and validate with us. For this question, the answer is measurement bias because it's a systematic error in the data collection process. In this case, the phone survey responses are influenced by the interviewer, and that is why it is resulting in higher satisfaction score compared to the online form responses. Here is a SageMaker Clarify screen used to detect bias through pre-built metrics. We are reviewing a built-in matrix called class imbalance. Class imbalance in a dataset occurs when the advantage group is represented at a substantially higher rate than the disadvantage group or vice versa. In this example, the feature we are analyzing is foreign worker and the class imbalance metric value is 0.92 or 92%. This indicates that the dataset contains 92% more foreign workers compared to domestic workers. Based on your selected features from the feature dropdown, SageMaker Clarify uses pre-built statistical metrics to detect any bias in the dataset. Now, take a moment to think, what type of bias could this class imbalance indicate? If you are thinking sampling bias, then you are correct. This is because the dataset overrepresents foreign workers by 92% compared to domestic workers. If you were considering other options, I recommend reviewing the different types of bias slide once again. Now let's review SageMaker Clarify Model Explainability. SageMaker Clarify supports explainability for tabular data, natural language processing (NLP), and computer vision models. SageMaker Clarify provides both global explanation and local explanation. In terms of global explanation, which gives an overview of feature importance across the entire dataset. And in terms of local explanation explains individual predictions. In SageMaker Clarify, PDPs shows the marginal effect of a feature on a predicted outcome, and they help you visualize how changes in a feature value impact the model's prediction. SageMaker Clarify uses SAP or Shapley additive explanation to assign an importance score to each feature for a particular prediction. This helps you understand which features had the most influence on the model's decision. Model explainability is essential for several reasons, and to start with, by understanding how your model makes decision, you can build trust with stakeholders and users. You can also identify and fix issues in your models by understanding which features are driving incorrect predictions. You can also meet regulatory requirements by providing transparent explanations of your model's behavior. And last but not least, you can ensure your model is fair and unbiased by analyzing feature importance and detecting potential biases before deploying the model. Now let's review SageMaker Clarify explainability example. Here is a sample screen, and this report includes global SAP values and it's showing the relative importance of all the features in the dataset. SageMaker Clarify model explainability will help you to explain how your machine learning model is making predictions. As an example, why did the model predicted a negative outcome, or why did the model make an incorrect prediction? For this sample prediction, the outcome is primarily influenced by the top 4 features. The first feature, country, is the most dominant in determining the prediction outcome, while the other 3 features, educational number, relationship, and age, contribute almost equally to the prediction outcome. Using SageMaker Clarify, you can analyze each prediction and identify the dominant or prominent features driving the results. Next, we have SageMaker Model Cards. SageMaker Model Cards allow you to document critical details about your machine learning models in a single place for streamlined governance and reporting. It captures key information about your models, including intended use, risk rating, training details, and performance metrics. Using SageMaker Model Card, you can support audit activities with a detailed description of model training and performance. You can also maintain an immutable record of model changes with versioned model cards. And as part of transparency, you can communicate how models are intended to support business goals and their limitations. Let's go back to AWS Management Console and let's review some model cards. I'm back into SageMaker Studio, and to review model cards, we need to go back to SageMaker. So I'll go to AWS Management Console, and from here, model cards will be under the governance. So if you'll go to governance, from here you can create your own model cards. Now let's go. I do not have any existing model cards. If you have a requirement to create, you can create model cards and you can provide all the details related to the model, and then you can create the model cards. Based on that, you will see all the available model cards that you have created. Now let's see some inbuilt model cards that comes with different models. And for that, we'll go to Jumpstart. In Jumpstart, we have different foundation models. Here are different models. So this is the summary of those models. Now let's go to Stable Diffusion. This is one of the models. I'll go to View Model. And from this model, here you can see the model card. So this is the model card for Hugging Faces. And here it has all the details related to model description, model source, evaluation, and all the details how you can use the model. To wrap up today's video, in this video we have covered SageMaker Studio, SageMaker Feature Store, SageMaker Clarify. We have discussed model explainability. We have reviewed different types of model bias, and we also detected model bias. And at the end, we have reviewed SageMaker model cards, how to create your model card and how to review pre-built model cards. Please stay tuned and explore other modules from the Bootcamp playlist for a comprehensive understanding of the topics required for the certification. That wraps up this module. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more update, and feel free to drop any question or feedback in the comments. We would love to hear from you. I hope this session helped you gain a deeper understanding and brought you one step closer to your learning goals. Thank you very much for watching and learning with us at CloudExpert Solution. See you in the next module.